Hello. My AC is running and it's really loud. I'm hoping it's not really loud for you. If you're here and you can hear me, is the blower really loud in the background? And if not, we'll get started. So I've collected some really great questions for Q&A today, relationship Q&A. People are hopping on. And the first one is how to encourage him or anyone to find a therapist he's not doing well. Yeah, the way to encourage somebody to find a therapist is likely not saying you need to find a therapist. This is a tough one because you don't want it to be heard as criticism or there's something wrong with you or you're not doing something right. And so helping people find their own answers is a large part of what I do. And if people hear criticism in what you're saying, you're just going to get met with resistance and defensiveness. No, I don't need to find a therapist. You need to find a therapist. So the last thing you want to do is elicit defensiveness. So making sure that what you're saying cannot be interpreted as criticism. So let's take the example of there was a time when I felt like my husband needed to find a new job. I felt like he wasn't happy in his new job. I could have said, this job is stupid and you need to find a new job, and he would have rattled off all the 100 reasons why that wasn't possible or it wasn't a good idea or why it was dumb. But instead, we had just had a son, and we were sitting on our back patio one day, and I said to him, if you fast forward 30-ish years, it was a Sunday. If you fast forward 30-ish years, and our son feels the same way about work as you feel about going back to work tomorrow, what would you want him to do? And my husband sighed, a big sigh, and said, oh, I would want him to quit. I said, yeah, that sucks. So that wasn't me telling him what to do. I think we just, as people, as independent and proud people, we don't like to be told what to do. It's easy to hear as criticism. We'll get defensive about it. So it might be something like that. But it's got to be coming from a really good place. It can't be coming from like a teaching a lesson place. And if you have been teaching him a lesson about this, or there's a history of criticism there, or of him perceiving criticism, or perceiving that you're saying you're not doing it right, or you're not doing enough, that might have to be addressed first. So we have a free training for that, where I go way more in depth about perceived criticism and defensiveness, and how those are the two ingredients that get you stuck in interactions and not getting all the way to a resolution, which resolution is both people being on the other side of that interaction feeling better, more seen, more heard, more understood, and not worse. And if you comment, if you DM us conflict, for sure, you'll get sent a link to that free training. So DM us conflict and you'll get sent a free training. I'm not sure if you comment free training here, if that will work or not. So the next question is, how do I let go so he's able to step up? Independent woman here who doesn't like asking for help. Yes, so in terms of family systems, if you're over-functioning in a task, if you're over-functioning in household and family, it's going to be really hard for things to get on the other person's radar. And then what happens is what I call this caricature of marriage, where the person who is over-functioning starts nagging, because all of this is on most of the time her radar, some of the time his radar, and that has there's a lot of cultural implications there that we won't get into. But if you want change where there's over-functioning and under-functioning in any system, the person who holds the most power to create change is the over-functioner refusing to over-function. I talk about this a lot in the workshop that we have called How to Divide Household and Family Related Tasks Without Hating Your Spouse or hating each other. And if you DM us workshop you'll get a link to our workshops page, and if you scroll all the way down, you'll see that. But how do you let go? I think that knowing the importance of letting go, like the things I just said, and like having that really drilled into you is really helpful. Believing in that. I just want to count with my fingers, Instagram. I don't want you giving a thumbs up. But there's also, I think, finding a middle ground between like you managing and monitoring and nagging and totally letting it go is scheduling some type of weekly check-in, a weekly meeting where there's going to be a learning curve if we're shifting and changing roles. And to keep you out of the managing and monitoring role, a great substitute can be a weekly check-in, where the weekly check-in in and of itself serves as the accountability and the deadline, and it can keep you from, did you do it yet? Did you do it yet? Is it finished yet? Did you do it yet? So you can totally take it off your radar until the meeting. And then if it's, like there's a reel on here somewhere where I talk about, like, I was hosting something at our house and there was some parts of a room that needed to be painted. This was more important and more on my radar for me than it was for my husband. My husband really doesn't care if we have people over and there's spots on the wall that don't match the other parts of the wall. And so that started happening between us. I kept saying, like, are you going to do it now? How about now? How about now? How about now? When are you going to get done? I'm starting to get worried you're not getting... And so I looked at him one day and I said, I don't want to be in this managing and monitoring role about this. Do you have ideas about what would motivate you to get this done? And he goes, I cannot touch your butt until it's done. So we collaborated on how I could get out of that role, and did it in a way that elicited the least amount of defensiveness possible. Eric's really funny, and that really does motivate him, not being able to touch my butt. So that it was a win-win. Sort of. Good resources for a mixed, neurotypical, neurodiverse marriage. So I like to say that all marriages are neurodiverse. We're never marrying somebody with the same brain as us. We're usually marrying somebody that's very different. And if you're not, that would be very bizarre. Genetically, it wouldn't be good for procreation. So most of the time, there have been studies where they put jars, t-shirts in jars. So they'll have men like run on a treadmill in a t-shirt and get all sweaty, and then they take those sweaty t-shirts and they put them in a jar and they twist a lid. And then they have women take the lids off, smell the sweaty t-shirt, and then rate how good or bad it smells on a scale. And they have found that the more genetically different somebody is than us, the more we will be attracted to their scent. So, and there's probably a lot of, like I said, good genetic reasons for that. But yeah, we're always marrying somebody that is neuro different than us. But there might be it sounds like somebody in your marriage is not neurotypical. And so what I say, no matter if there's somebody that's not neurotypical or not, even if it's just two neurotypical people, I think the more we learn about our own brains, about our own preferences, about what motivates us and what doesn't, and what gives us energy and what drains us, and the more we learn about all of that about our partner's brains, the more we can meet our differences with understanding and curiosity, and the less we'll take that stuff personally. And so it just lends itself to better communication the more you understand about yourself and each other. So good resources for that. If you know that your partner has a diagnosis, I would recommend learning absolutely everything you can about that. If you don't like reading, I would listen to podcasts on the way to work. Or lectures or snippets, or follow some people on the internet. so that you can get more familiar with what might be the things that they're born to be great at and the things that they're born to suck at. I would also recommend taking like personality type inventories like the Myers-Briggs. Myers-Briggs is kind of expensive. You need somebody qualified and certified to administer that to you. If you want a free version, go to 16personalities.com, 16personalities.com. It's a 10-minute assessment. It spits out something like Myers-Briggs results. It'll spit out 4 letters, dash 1 letter. What is the dash 1 letter? I don't know. It's them trying to differentiate themselves from the Myers-Briggs and probably sell you something. The first 4 letters is your Myers-Briggs type. Even if you come to me and get the certified, qualified, expensive version, we will still be reviewing your results and amending them as needed and necessary. So it will spit out a summary for you, and I want each of you to take that and then review your summary and make notes. Just get out a pen, make notes of what you feel like fits, what you cross out, what doesn't. Exchange, talk about it. I think the Myers-Briggs really helps us get clear on what gives us energy and what drains us, and that will be very different for very different people. Like, for instance, my husband's a huge J on the Myers-Briggs, and I think that means is part of an explanation for why, like, doing laundry doesn't make him want to crawl out of his skin. It's a task that he can start, he can finish. He's really great at finishing things. I am not really great at finishing things. I'm great at starting things, but not finishing them. So big ideas are my thing. I'll get going on a big idea, like I'm going to build 2 picnic tables, and I'll get it about 85% done. And then they just need to be, like, I will have the plans and get the wood and put it all together and do the sanding, and then I'll be like, I can't look at this thing anymore, and I might not stain the things for years. But Eric swoops in. He won't start the picnic tables because that's overwhelming. Finding the plans, figuring it out, all my specialty. But he will do all the, like, icky, not creative, like, finish it up work. So when we're trying to figure out, like, how to divide household and family related tasks, I think it's really important, if you're going to find something sustainable, to figure out what everybody's personality type is and work with who they are and not against it. So staying on that same thing, where my husband's a huge J and I'm a huge P on the Myers-Briggs, the last letter of the Myers-Briggs. He's in charge of all kid-related email, because that guy keeps his inbox at 0. Let's just say mine is not at 0. Okay, so he's really this. I do this when I talk about J's. Anybody who's like this, laundry might be their thing. Emails might be their thing. And when you know that, you're more clear on the things like to give away, even though society says that moms should be doing all that. And if you don't, that's weird, or there's something wrong with you. Moving on. Should you love your spouse unconditionally? Should you love your spouse unconditionally? Oh, somebody says, could you repeat the free website? 16 personalities, 16personalities.com. So should you love your spouse unconditionally? Sounds really lovely, right? Like, love somebody no matter what. I think my concern with that is loving somebody despite atrocious offenses. And I think sometimes, I think it depends on how you think about it. I think I can love somebody but not tolerate their atrocious offenses and hold them to a high standard, and that might be having boundaries for them and their behavior. And if they're not willing to treat me differently or more respectfully, then that might mean some distance or space. But that doesn't mean I don't love them. It means I love myself. But it doesn't mean I tolerate at all costs offenses. So I get worried when people start to think about loving someone unconditionally, meaning at the expense of oneself. So I'm more into, like, mutual respect and partnership, and, like, doing things in a way that, and finding things that work for everybody, where solutions feel like a win-win and not a compromise. So I'm sure that I could say a lot more about that, but I might need to know more specifically about what that question's about. Somebody says, next question, I have reasons for not meeting some of my spouse's needs. And my spouse says that these are just excuses. It feels invalidating when labeled as excuses. Yeah. Somebody saying that that's an excuse is you shouldn't be feeling the way that you're feeling. I think it's easy to hear as you shouldn't be feeling the way that you're feeling, which is criticism. So if somebody says they cannot meet one of my needs or they don't want to, the really easy response, the really easy reaction is to get defensive and say, you're wrong. That's just an excuse. You shouldn't feel that way. That's really easy. That takes zero vulnerability, and it's probably not going to get us any closer, but it is safe. The harder response is getting curious about what they need. So when I'm working with people where like maybe her drive is lower and his drive is higher and they have miscommunicated about that for years, and now the subject is so emotionally laden and there's been hurt feelings all around, I'm coaching people to get curious, like, okay, here you don't want to have sex and you can't want to have sex. What would this week get you closer to the bed? So I think that moves a relationship. This back and forth about, I feel this way, no, you shouldn't feel this way. I feel this way, that's just an excuse. I feel this way, you shouldn't feel this way. That goes nowhere. It's like this tug of war where everybody's pulling and nothing's moving. Like if those ropes were tied to the mast of a sail, that boat would keep going in the same goddamn direction, okay? But if you say something like, I hate that you feel that way. It sounds like having drive is really hard. What do you need from me to get closer to the bed today? Or in the next week? Or in the next 48 hours? And then that gives us clues about what the other person wants and needs or what's getting in the way. So I think you can apply that to all subjects, not just drive. But do you see how like one is everybody's pulling on a rope and the other is like dropping the rope and it moving forward, moving towards? It feels totally different. Next question, which is a doozy and is such a common complaint that I hear from people. When I tell my partner I'm upset, they give me all the reasons why I shouldn't be upset. The things they do right or the things I should be. Oh wait, I answered this question last time. Hang on. Sorry, I copied the wrong one onto my page. This one's about parenting. When I tell my partner, say one partner dedicates a lot of time to learning about child development, parenting skills, etc. And the other parent not only won't consider learning themselves, but also argues with the parent utilizing the knowledge about it being the wrong way, while refusing to listen to the explanation of why they're doing it. How do you navigate co-parenting with someone who you can't have a simple discussion with? Yeah. So this to me is, wow, I can't find my word. Where's the word? I don't know. This to me makes clear that there is an underlying communication issue. When you can't get on the same page about things and you're just met with defensiveness or you're doing it wrong. I'm wondering if his defensiveness, he's interpreting your explanation of why you're doing what you're doing or why you're not doing what he's doing as criticism. So you might be getting met with defensiveness. I think this is, again, just a really emotionally laden subject, parenting in general, and nobody deep down wants to be a bad mom or a bad dad. So talking about it, I think, just really easily elicits those feelings, and it's easy to perceive that the other person is saying that. So I am encouraging people quite often, instead of, I really don't love the idea of one person doing all or most of the research on how we are going to parent, but I do understand that most of the time that's how it shakes out. I think because culturally, well, this is a large part of it, maybe not all, culturally moms are more judged on how their kids behave. and more judged in terms of how they parent. So we have a little bit more motivation to get clear on that stuff and to do all the research and to know all the things and to like get overwhelmed with information coming at us from every direction. And so usually what tends to happen is that there's one parent who feels like the other one is too hard, and there's another parent who feels like the other is too soft. And let the tug of war begin with the boat going in the same darn direction. But when I have them in here, I can usually drag them through conversations and people will be like, how did you do that? We can't ever talk about this. But somehow, like, I am trained to find the common ground, and I hear what's getting people off track in communicating, and my job is to help you communicate in a way. So people will come in and they'll feel like, in terms of parenting, we aren't just on different pages, we're on different planets. But when I really tease it out, they might be on the same page, but in different paragraphs. But how they communicate about it has it like looking and sounding like they are on different planets. And I'm like, y'all, I think we're kind of saying mostly the same thing, or their goals are the same, but they just disagree on how to get there. So I encourage people to, and I developed this for myself and ended up sharing it with clients over the years, and I've created a workshop on it. The workshop is called Family Rules, Chores, and Systems for Discipline. I, being a trained marriage and being specialized in marriage and family counseling in school, and taught human growth and development for 6 years. And so the way that I parent is based on years of research, years of reading, multiple books, textbooks, like just this giant foundation. And I couldn't expect my partner to catch up with all of that. But I also didn't want him to feel like I was parenting his parenting. So I created a resource and a plan for our family that we collaborated on that was really clear. Like it's like, if this, then that. So a system for discipline. So if this, yell, threaten, shame, I could keep saying to him, like, that doesn't work. That's creating resistance in the kids. It's creating chaotic mornings. But you have to give people something to do instead. So I created this very clear system that's like, if this, then that. That actually has worked in ways that I didn't anticipate. Have a client who's an educational psychologist who is using the system with her husband. And I just recently got loads of positive feedback from them about it too. And so that was really like validating. The most validating feedback that I've gotten on this system is from my kids though. My kids will observe other families and they will say things to me like, they really need this system. And I'm like, oh, the system that you hate? Well, I mean, we don't need it. It's stupid for us, but other people need it. Not very nice, but also if the kids are on board with it, I'm telling you, I don't know how to say it any clearer. Sometimes I feel like a broken record. Like, it is an hour-long training that could save you, that could totally change your family in a weekend. So, DM us workshop if you want a link to our workshops page. So what I'm telling people is to get on a page that is not yours or theirs, to find a third page that you can get on. And so I created this resource so that people could get there quickly. And one person doesn't have to like get really interested in parenting books or like read, that's really interesting to me. And I had a mentor once say to me, like, because I was like, I just don't know if Eric and I are compatible before we were married or we were dating. And she was like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. He's just like not interested in the meaning of life. And I gave him my favorite Wayne Dyer book. And he was like, it's okay. I just don't know if I can live with somebody like that. And she was like, Micah, what if you were a landscape architect and he wanted to talk to you about the chemical makeup of grass all day? And I was like, yeah, that would really suck. She's like, that's what you're doing to him. And I'm like, you mean not everybody's obsessed with relationships and thinking about the meaning of life all the time? And she's like, no. So anyway, looks like I've missed some things, some comments. Somebody says, this sounds familiar. Free website. Sorry, I'm just looking at comments. I wish the comments would be separate from the alerts. Anyway. Oh, my kids are 13, 12, and 9. No, it's perfect time. It's perfect time to use that system. That's actually, when I made it a very clear, we had used other systems before, but that is about the ages of my kids when we really started with this one. And it was life-changing. So on the page for the workshop, if you just DM us workshop, we'll send you the link for all the workshops. Scroll down. It's like the red one, Family Rules, Chores, and Systems for Discipline. If you click on that, you can scroll down a little bit and read our story. I think it has worked for us in ways. And it's not just like one idea. Like I said, I have degrees in marriage and family counseling. I taught human growth and development for many, many years. I have read every parenting book under the sun. I am trained in parent-child interaction therapy. And so it's like a lot of the best of what I know sort of shoved into one thing. It's very strategic. And I can't recommend it enough. I don't know. Check it out. Okay. And a good place to start for any of this is just better communication. And we have a free resource for that. So if you DM us conflict, we'll send you the free resource, the How to Not Get Stuck workshop. So getting stuck in interactions and not getting from anger, frustration, irritation to a resolution. Both people leaving the conversation feeling more seen, more heard, more understood, not getting detoured into escalation and or shutdown or placating. That's what you want over and over again. Knowing how to fight and get to resolutions quickly is what creates emotional intimacy. Not being able to do that and having this pile of unresolved issues is what builds resentment, feeling disconnected, feeling like roommates, having your physical intimacy get off track, all that stuff. So that is a place to start. Okay, I think I got through all my questions. Anybody here have any questions that you want to type in? I should have said that a while ago. Okay, well, it was great talking to you. I'll save this on my feed and we can watch it again later. Bye. How do I go?